Welcome back everyone. Well, welcome back to me since you always been there. And hello to everyone that's new to this channel. I finally found the time to explain you how to build your harvesting Ighina antenna. So we're gonna need to go through a bit of theory before to start the actual assembly of the device and how to use it. Probably I'm gonna have to shot another video about how to use it. Let's keep it short. I'll introduce you to the Ighina theories and I'll take you through the building of the actual device.
Okay, it's $500, you have no choice of carrier, the battery can't hold a charge, and the reception isn't very—
Shut up and take my money!
Okay, so first thing first, these are all theories and they haven't been proved either wrong or right till today. It's actually what I'm trying to do with this whole thing. When I started, I thought this would have been a channel in debunking the properties of these devices, but I found myself in getting some results over the years. So again, this is all theories. The devices I'm explaining you, I'm not saying that they work. I can tell you that after 2 years, strictly following the rules left by the inventor or the clues, the device wasn't actually working, if not by chance. So I would say either 0 or 50-50. Once I started looking into it, analyzing all that has been said by Luigi Ighina, everything that he wrote in his books, through videos, recording and whatever else, I realized that something was wrong. Once I corrected that little detail, unfortunately, the devices started to have a very high rate of success. So this video might be the instruction for anyone else out there that wants to build the very same device. As I'm gonna explain later, this is my design. I'm gonna explain you the principle of it and you can work out your either simpler or more complex device. It's all up to you. But I would love if someone takes the challenge and builds the very copy of my device. Better if on the other side of the planet, so that we can cross-check our data. That way we might become closer to our conclusions, because if the first results of the first design were between the 0 and 50% of success, after I modified it and enhanced it, as I reckon I did, the ratio of success grew till about 96%. This has been given by a series of factors. First thing, I grew a certain consciousness about the hypothetical use of them. I find out probably the best way, in my eyes, to test it without badly influencing the environment. Basically, I started using it not to change what the weather conditions were at the moment, but to try and attract the correct weather. So basically, I didn't try to get sun on the rainy season. I tried to get rain on the rainy season because we needed it. 2 years ago, I tried to get sun in the rainy season, and I don't think that was a very wise thing to do. It's true that it will prove that the device works, but there are a better way to prove it. This is what I'm working on right now. I'm trying to build the full-scale copy of the Ighina laboratory, not the harvesting device, but the generator, which is there. This is the 3D design, the generator and the transmitter antenna. And I'm trying to build it on the desert side so that if I can call clouds and rain up there where it never been raining in history, that will prove if the device works or if it's just a scam. Okay. So, theory. We start with saying that it's not been proven, but Luigi Ighina said that he was the disciple of Guglielmo Marconi, who is the alleged inventor of the radio before they gave it to Tesla. So hypothetically, this 3D draw here has been taken by a 2D drawn by Marconi in 1936. So it's nothing new design wise, but it's all based on Luigi Ighina's theories. So flying over the fact if he was Guglielmo Marconi's disciples or not, leaving aside how they came up with these theories, would be enough for you to know that they came out with all this observing nature, the behavior of snails and other insects and plants. He sees the universe as a big magnetic field, which it is, obviously. So the theory says that the sun and the stars have positive charges, whilst planet Earth and the planets are averagely, they have negative magnetic charges. The energy that is coming from the sun and so from all the other stars toward planet Earth, it comes on a very wide frequency, which is all through. There is a visible part of the spectrum, which is a very short one, the visible light. Then we have all the long waves and the short waves. The theories goes that part of this energy, so let's call it magnetic energy, which is part of the invisible light, comes over Earth with a clockwise spheroidal movement. Then hits Earth, goes through the entire planet. The visible light gets stopped by opaque objects, and then, for example, the X-rays get stopped by something as solid as lead. Then the gamma rays goes further in and so on. So the shorter the wave, the deeper get, till getting to the smallest particles which go through the entire planet Earth. This magnetic energy that travels clockwise and on a spiral that way toward Earth supposedly goes through the entire planet and gets stopped by the other particle coming from the other side and bounces on the very center of the planet. The theory says that the very center of planet Earth is being kept hot also because of this phenomena going on. After it bounces on the very center, comes back on an anti-clockwise spiral that way, because if something is rotating clockwise since from upstairs, when it bounces and the point of reference becomes downstairs, it keeps rotating clockwise since from upstairs, but going upway and seen from underneath is gonna look like it is a counter-clockwise spiral movement. The theory says that the interaction of these two clockwise and counterclockwise energies creates a certain vibration, a certain resonance. I forgot to say that the energy that leaves planet Earth has been filtered by the entire planet. First thing has lost its colors because the visible light has been stopped by the surface, and second thing, it goes back with a negative charge. So the interaction of these two energies, positive and negative, creates a certain resonance that is believed to be the very creation act. I don't know how to put it, but that's what creates matter as we can see in the universe. So without that interaction, he says that matter would not exist. This is the theory. Then now that he knew what's the shape of this energy, he could try to harness this Luigi Ighina. This is gonna be the video about building the antenna that can collect that kind of energy, which is basically a giant spiral built in a certain way and a smaller antenna, both made of metal. The other one is obviously the generator, which it's another story, but to give you the basic info, it's something that Ighina discovered in 1936 in Guglielmo Marconi's laboratory. He discovered what is known to be impossible today, which is the monopole. Because as we all know, when a magnetic field is created or is already there, it's composed by two different positive and negative magnetic fields. There is never the single one. Otherwise, we would have free energy devices and levitation and whatever. It's in contradiction of one of the basic physics laws. That's also what I'm trying to prove, if this machine was real or not, but that's another story. Anyway, he discovered by accident after other trials in the laboratory. But anyway, I haven't shown it to you before. That's the sarcophagus. I'm gonna show it to you soon, but this needs at least a couple of hours of explanation. That's a story for another time. So for now, we're moving to the garage so that I can show you the actual machine and take you through the various stages to build it. It's very, very, very simple, basic. Thanks for listening. This was the theory, although very summarized, very plain, with no details. If you all want to know more about it, unfortunately, the only books about this kind of stuff, they are in Italian language. The original book written by Luigi Ighina is this one. You can probably find it online. I'm working on a translation. I've actually finished it, and I'm working on a commentary of these, and then I'm gonna have to ask for the copyright distributor. Yeah, that's one of the two books. The other book is this one. This is the actual editor. These two books here, they have more info than whatever I can give you. If I can tell you something more about all these things, is all coming from just my experience. Yeah, to conclude, I have to say something. The inventor, I don't know why, we can hypothesize about it, but probably the more plausible would be old age. In the first years of his studies, he stated what I just said to you, that the energy comes with a clockwise way toward Earth and leaves an anti-clockwise way seen from downstairs. What happens is that he's been preaching for years to build this kind of device here with a clockwise spiral, and then it would generally goes like, okay, but if you turn it upside down, you'll see that it's a anti-clockwise spiral, which is not true. The truth is that this is an anti-clockwise spiral, which is the opposite of that one. It's not just turning it upside down. So what it comes out is that there are four kind of energies of the same energy. Ighina was showing these phenomena happening like if it was a laser ray coming from sun to planet Earth, which it isn't. If it's all through what he's stating, it goes 360 by 360 all around the sun in all the directions, and the energy is coming from all the entire universe, from every sun and stars out there. So what happens is that the energy doesn't behave as it says. It doesn't perforate planet Earth and hits in the perfect very center. Those are just few of them that get attracted by, I don't know, gravity, let's say, or whatever. Other we just travel through Earth because caught on the very side. Other bounces, other going back and bouncing against other coming from other planets, going through another planet and going in the very center of planet Earth. Those are all different variations, which comes out to have a clockwise and anti-clockwise positive energy, and a clockwise and anti-clockwise negative energy. So in the case of the generation of the energy of the monopole, you can forget about all these theories, because hypothetically you're already generating either positive or negative energy at your wills. In the case of harnessing these energies, you have to keep in mind that on the sunny day, so in the midday, you're gonna have more positive energy clockwise coming perpendicularly down to your place, like a solar panel, and more anti-clockwise, so not these spiral capsided, but anti-clockwise seen from downstairs spiral. So those two, they're gonna be the most powerful in the daytime. In the nighttime is a different story, with other planets on a certain line, with the moon interacting. These are all different variations. So is not as simple as put it by Luigi Ighina. After I realized that, I started in building the anti-clockwise spiral built on the correct way. Once I started doing that, everything changed and I started having the results I wanted. So the video you saw on my YouTube channel, I never seen anyone putting on the internet a video where the sky is completely sunny and free and it says, I'm gonna try to create clouds there on the right side, and it turns on the machine and the clouds start to appearing. So I cannot convince you more than I already did with those videos, if not taking you in front of the real machines and see it with your eyes. So that's the end game. So anyway, said all this, thanks for listening. This was the theory. We're gonna now move to chapter number 2, building the machine. Catch you in the garage, guys. Okay, so here we are, chapter 2, how to build the devices. So as I said before, they're very, very easy. It's just basic. So to split it in two, so I'm gonna add a few snapshots along somewhere here in the screen to help you out in the various stages. But anyway, I'm shooting with the GoPro for the details, so you're gonna see it all. So first thing, it's all disconnected. So hypothetically, it is charging by the alleged energy, but I think I'm doing the same thing that Luigi Ighina was doing, and so discharging the machines directly into the ground. That one is connected to a big aluminum plate on the roof, and the lower one has a big rod dug like a meter into the ground. Generally, I connect them together, so I link the two spirals, and the whole thing discharges into the ground. The theory goes that aluminium attracts and collects the most of this alleged sun energy and earth energies. The smaller the bit of aluminium, the better. As Luigi Ighina said, it's better. So this copper pipe here, the one that makes the clockwise descending spiral, these are full of aluminium dust. This is micronized aluminium dust, which you can find on the internet, as I did. And the whole thing, it's connected obviously to a hand. This is a kind of a springy thing that I made. Let me put a glove on. And as you can see, this can be attached to the transmitter. So this is the receiver, the big antenna, the helix one. So that part there is supposed to collect the sun energy, and this one, the lower one, which is an opposite, is like if it was reflected on a surface of water. Can you see the mirror thing? Is not just that one capsided, but this one is an ascending anti-clockwise spiral helix. Said that, this is the transmitter we'll talk about later. Let's start with the receiver. The receiver itself, it's very easy so the first thing that matters is the mass. The mass, the entire mass, so the amount of metal and powders and cables you can put on it will make allegedly the difference. In my experience, it does. The bigger, the better. Imagine this energy can rotate only clockwise descending. So if you see the whole thing from above, you'll see that each lap, it's not perpendicular underneath the previous one. So the whole spiral is properly and gradually enlarging itself till the base. What I did, as you can see in the snapshots, I started by creating a sort of structure I use bamboo because I had that one. You can actually do way better than this. Way better than this. Like every project, the better you start, the better results you get out of it. So, as I said, this is my design, but you can do as you want. You can change whatever. I'm explaining you the principle. I'd like if someone creates the very same one. If you start with a solid base, you'll get a better result. So now you see how it should be. You can start with drawing it down, make a beautiful draw of it in all the view that you need to, and start with selecting the right material and calculating properly the material that you need. So I won't give you measures, diameters, gauges and whatever else. I'm just giving you the lines. So you start with a structure that properly designed will be better than this. But anyway, this is how I went on. I started with building a bamboo structure, and then I started with folding it with creating this big spiral and connected the parts. So then I filled it inside this pipe. There is an entire cable which was quite hard to put in, so this is why I used pieces, bits, so that I could fill the cable and also the dust, the aluminium dust. So there is a copper cable and aluminium dust in it, which is all connected together, and supposedly it functions as a big wire that collects the energy and discharge it to our transmitter. So then what I did is just adding a lot of wire, the more copper I could. You can't tell really well out there, probably from the shots, snapshots. You can see that I created the tip and then placed it, connected it. Anyway, then you can build it with a symmetrical structure underneath, like this one, a strong one. I used wood because hypothetically it's the proper thing to isolate this energy. I'm treating it always as if there was actual power, electric power in it. That's why I'm wearing gloves, that's why I'm using copper. For building the big spiral for the collecting the earth energy, which after thinking about it, I realized that obviously if the only energy that comes out of planet Earth is the one that bounces in the very center of planet Earth and comes back with the negative magnetic charge, so that means that there is a much lesser negative energy coming out of planet Earth than positive energy coming from the sun. So I wanted it to have a bigger aluminium mass to collect it, although this is not in dust, but I ran out of money, so I used a big cable, which is what you can see on the back side here is aluminium. This is the big copper, very thick copper that I chopped to create to fill all the spiral, the big spiral, and this is the aluminium one. Copper pipes and whatever else. So anyway, once you build the structure, I suggest you strongly to build them separately, because you need quite a lot of strength to bend properly all these things, and I suggest you also to use mat. So as you can see here, I marked lines and plant a screw each mark. So for example, I started with mark 1, the second pole was mark 1, the third pole was mark 1, mark 2, and then descending mark 3, mark 4, mark 5, mark 6, mark 7, so that I created a geometrical proper spiral. So I suggest you to do that, especially with the copper one, which is very malleable. Well, it's hard to get it on the right shape. Well, you can be fussy or not, it's up to you. So once you create that, you only need obviously a connection from each one. So this is the spring from the solar one, this is the ground one, but as you can see I'm always using copper. And obviously a connection to the transmitter. So once you connected these two, you hypothetically are collecting what is naturally already there and discharging it in this rotating antenna, hypothetically. So let's talk about the transmitter. So the transmitter itself, it's very basic. You can build it much better than I did. I started with building the base, a solid base where you can, I used metal cable to stabilize it and to try to stop it, but you can build it as you want. As I said, you can build it with triangles, you can build a pyramid, the shape doesn't really matter in this case, as long as you use wood and it's all separated from the ground. So the parts are basically a big shaft with what do you call it, with bearings. There is a bearing here that is holding the weight. As you can see, I've been very rudimental, and I created basically this pipe here is both holding on to the tripod and holding the weight of the entire antenna. So those screws, this is all copper pipe, full of aluminium dust, and that's the greasy part of it where it's always been working. So I mean, you can do better. Anyway, the part are the shaft connected to the tripod. This is a second panel. That second panel you see there, which is out of line, is not parallel to the tripod. Is because with that flexion I can tension the pulley here. Well, the pulley, the belt and the pulley anyway, so that I don't have to move the motor every time. So the other parts are obviously an electric motor that gives, and that with a pulley and a belt, as we said, connected to the big pulley. I 3D printed and 3D penned this one so you can do better. And the big shaft, the connection bridge, which we're talking about later, the cables that takes, so the energy comes into this cable, goes into the bridge. Let's talk about it. This is a regulator. This is my idea, so you can do better. So this cable here, the base of those cables, the copper is exposed in the area, and there is glue, hot glue, to hold them in place. And so this bridge here that I can lift and put down and when I want and where I want, it's made to make a connection which is basically pulsating. You can do it with a single line of copper touching the cable. As long as it touches one per time, you will discharge in all the lines. So what happens is that when it's rotating, you're creating an ascending helix of the hypothetical energy you already collected. So yeah, now it's falling apart because I'm not using it, and this burned out, so I'm using it, as you saw in the other videos, I'm using the drill to turn it. So anyway, this is my design, as I said. So I created a bracket to hold the motor in place with the two cable, with a easy connector, so that I can plug in. This is my extension lead, so this will go, for example, outside, because it's the transmitter. You can use it inside as long as you don't have a metal roof, in my opinion. So you connect your power there. They're connected, and the other side of the cable you connected to a DC power supply that will allow you to control the rules per minute, well, the voltage and the amperes of these motors, so that you can control the rule per minute. Basically, that's it. What you have to do is build a good shaft where to sit the old antenna and create a good traction here. So it doesn't really matter what kind of pulley, what kind of motor you're using, what sort of setup you'll have, as long as this revolves and you can control the rule per minute, and you have a bridge of some sort that discharges the power that you're collecting from the other one into these cables that runs along the shaft. And above here you can create an antenna of some sort. I used zinc metal so that basically, as you can see, I start thicker and I go thinner, and these are very thin cable because hypothetically the energy discharges on the tips, on corners, and I reckon the big mass collects the most energy, and the small bits are more to irradiated. So again, you can do it whatever you want. This is a flower looking shape. Was easy to come off with the math, so I start with a short one and longer. So each arm is longer of the same amount of the previous one. So this is all in ratio. This is Fibonacci spiral, but you don't have to really use it. So at the top I connected steel, no, actually it's an iron thingy here as a tip, but I also use a lot this one, which is basically just a cone, like in the Trevor Constable devices, and I just spin it that way depending on what I want to call. But in my opinion, the best tip you can create is the Rodin coil. It's very easy to create, very easy. I won't bother you with how to. You just go on the YouTube, and there are plenty of links about it. The only thing that changes on this one is that this one is a mingle between the Rodin coil and this. Can you see the two spirals, one going up and the other down? As now I'm going to show you, I forgot about those. And there is a counterclockwise small spiral going around and a big clockwise spiral going around. So this is halfway between an invention of Pierluigi Ighina, which is mainly a water purifier, where you can sit your bottle of water in the middle and it purifies with the energies of Earth and Sun and Earth. And these two little antenna, they are omnipresent in the Ighina's inventions, because allegedly they keep the various cable loaded with the Earth energy or Sun energy. So this is the best tip you can use, in my opinion, and this had always had results. So, but you know, it might be all just coincidences, so that's why I'd like to someone for creating the same thing. So as you can see here, I created a lot of spirals, so little spirals. They are all clockwise, seen from above, clockwise spirals, and we start with very tiny one, and each turn of the big spiral you'll see that these little helix are getting larger and larger till the very last one is quite big one, you see. And this end here, the tip, you can see in all these spirals is classical of the Ighina inventions, because it believes that that's the way to go to top finished a proper helix that collects the energy. So but again, open to opinions. So what I done, starting with the small one, imagine being being that energy and coming down. If physically you can be attracted by this sacred geometry of Luigi Ighina, hypothetically you're encountering a very small helix, so you charge it that amount. When you find a medium spiral, so the length of the cable is much longer, so you're charging with more energy, and so on till the big one, which is charged with even more energy. So I'm trying to create in that way a certain preferred way for the energy to flow, like you do with electric power, taking advantage of the various difference in absorption and whatever else properties of the various metals. You can also create this sort of difference in the mass, so going from bigger to smaller. You can also implement this one adding spike. The best thing to implement this one is enlarging it, but again you won't collect that much energy with an harvesting device. What you can collect with that is only what is already present in the environment, hypothetically. If you move into the building the monopole generator, so at that point I would say definitely you need a big gigantic mass on top of this, where you can attract all that energy that you're creating. This is pretty much all. I'm gonna have sooner or later to make a video on explaining how to use it, or at least to explain what I understood of it. We might update if anything was missing, and please do it. That's pretty much all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for having been waiting for this video. If you didn't consider subscribing already, please subscribe. It helps out. Let me know how it goes. I'm curious if anyone wants to build it now. Next video I'll upload, I'll show you what I've been doing on the last couple of months that I've been missing from the YouTube. Thanks again. See you soon, guys. And we had a little fella sitting there the whole time staring at me like, to whom are you explaining? To me? You ready? You don't have to explain it to me, eh? I don't give a damn. Build your devices. Ciao, Poldo. Bello. Bello. Ciao. See ya, guys.